Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar the Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar the Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Kwantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktabrinda Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, so I assume there's no verse today. Okay, so, and I'm pretty sure the verse is text 22. Oh my goodness. It's 22. Is it 2 or it's 1 and 2? 2 and 1. It's 1 and 2. You don't take attached? No, they're not. Okay, here, since you give me 2, you can take 1 back. Wear it for a little bit and then give it a Damodar. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudiriye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Can you hold on to the mic for the audience? There's many out there. So I'll get you later on. I know there's at least a couple. Madhusudan mentioned it to me. He said, well, it's very good, about 90%. Okay. Nashtapayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Chittama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, you don't have your device with you? You didn't bring it down. Okay. So can you share so that we can all, because there's only 3 of us. You can share. Okay, so okay. Did I say on them all? Okay. Okay. On this 5th day of September 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from srimadbhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4, the creation of the 4th order, Chapter 5, frustration of the sacrifice of Daksha, text number 22. Akram yorasi dakshasya shitadhare nahetina chindan abhitaruddhartam nashaknot triyambakas. It's triyambakas. Akram yorasi dakshasya shitadhare nahetina chindan abhitaruddhartam nashaknot triyambakas. Akram yorasi dakshasya shitadhare nahetina chindan apitaruddhartum nashaknot triyambakas. Akram yorasi dakshasya shitadhare nahetina chindan apitaruddhartum nashaknot triyambakas. Akram yorasi dakshasya shitadhare nahetina chindan apitaruddhartum nashaknot triyambakas. Akramya, having sat, Udasi, on the chest, Dakshasya, of Daksha, Shitadharena, having a sharp blade, Hetina, with a weapon, Chindan, cutting, Api, even though, Tat, that, head, Uddhartum, to separate, Na ashaknot, was not able, Triambakaha, Virabhadra, who had 3 eyes, Tada, after this. Translation. Then Virabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. Okay, we got that other fan blowing. Can I give you the control? You can walk around the back. Oh, it's right there. Okay, thank you. Why? Why isn't it possible? There's some special thing with his neck where you couldn't shut. Yeah, yeah. All right, no purport. We'll read on. Shastra astran vitarevam anirbhinnatvacham haraha vismayam padamapo apanno dadhyao pashupatischidam. He, Virabhadra, tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons. Cut off the head. But still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. Drishtva sangyapanang yogam Pashunam sapatir make Yajamana pasho kasya kayaten aharat chiraha. Then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. Purport. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras. Yajnas were performed as a test of the mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmins were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras. Virabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksha, to the astonishment of everyone. I am going to finish this chapter and go on to the next one. Text 25. Sadhu vadastadate sham karma tattasya pashyatam bhuta preta pasachanam anyeshang tadviparyaha. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmins in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Juhavaitat chirastasmin dakshinagnapamarshitaha taddeva yajanam dagdva patishtan guyakalayam. Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, Kailas. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Chapter 6, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Alright, I'll skip the Sanskrit here. All the priests and other members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods, having been defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and injured by weapons like tridents and swords, approached Lord Brahma with great fear. After offering him obeisances, they began to speak in detail of all the events which had taken place. Both Lord Brahma and Vishnu had already known that such events would occur in the sacrificial arena of Daksha, and knowing beforehand, they did not go to the sacrifice. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.26, Vedahang samatitani vartamanani charjuna. The Lord says, I know everything that has happened in the past and is going to happen in the future. Lord Vishnu is omniscient, and he therefore knew what would happen at Daksha's sacrificial arena. For this reason, neither Narayan nor Lord Brahma attended the great sacrifice performed by Daksha. Alright, one more. When Lord Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot have happiness in that way. Purport. Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that although Daksha wanted to enjoy the results of fruitive sacrificial activities, it is not possible to enjoy when one offends a great personality like Lord Shiva. It was good for Daksha to have died in the fight, because if he had lived, he would have committed such offenses at the lotus feet of the great personalities again and again. According to Manu's law, when a person commits murder, punishment is beneficial for him, because if he is not killed, he might commit more and more murders and therefore be entangled in his future lives for having killed so many persons. Therefore, the king's punishment of a murderer is appropriate. If those who are extremely offensive are killed by the grace of the Lord, that is good for them. In other words, Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that it was good for Daksha to have been killed. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, Daksha has gotten his comeuppance, and he will be given another head, a goat's head, in order to continue his life and his service of propagating the praja in the universe. But the lesson here, one of the lessons here, is that we should be very careful about respecting exalted personalities, because it completely undercuts any spiritual thing that we're trying to do. It becomes it's compared, of course, to a mad elephant, or sometimes to a forest fire, completely destructive things that just make a hash out of everything that you've tried to build and tried to accomplish in spiritual life. So that's what Brahma is telling the followers of Daksha, who are otherwise, you know, they're very qualified Brahmins and priests, and they have so many powers, but they went along with Daksha's insulting Lord Shiva. They didn't protest, didn't stop him, didn't try to instruct him. And this is the danger, even though one may personally not blaspheme. If he tolerates blasphemy of others, it's just bad. And you're incriminated in that. That comes up in the Mahabharata, you know, the prelude to the battle. Part of it was when the exalted personalities such as Bhishma and Dronacharya and others there in the assembly didn't protest when Draupadi was disrespected and when they violated all kinds of etiquette, and they just created havoc there, and that really sowed the seeds of the entire war. It said that when Draupadi's hair was mishandled by these nasty people, that planted the seed. Huh? Dushasan, yes. And Karna was complicit, even though he was the son of Kunti. He had become. So these insults to great personalities, they're like forest fires. They just burn everything. And this whole sacrifice and all of these personalities, and Daksha himself was killed. And it's all because Shiva was insulted by Daksha, and he was backed up by his Bhrigu and the others. So this is a good lesson for us. Also here, this previous purport, Vartamanani Charjana, that everything's Vedaham Samatitani Vartamani Charjana Bhavishyani Bhutani. I know everything in the past, everything is happening at present, everything in the future. Maybe we'll fix that, because Prabhupada mentions the future, but it's not mentioned in the Sanskrit that he quotes. So this omniscience of Krishna is like a basic understanding, and it's one thing that it's the first thing we forget when we come to this material world, that Krishna is seeing everything as the super soul. I'll never forget that reading the introduction, Prabhupada mentions that. He says, the super soul is in everybody's heart and in every atom, and he's witnessing everything. And so he knows exactly what we're doing. He knows what we're thinking, what we're planning, he knows what we did. He knows a lot more about us than we know. We forgot so many things. And so he said, and we should not forget that. That's precisely what we did forget when we came to this material world, because it's just like being an ordinary conditioned soul is just like being a criminal, because you're imprisoned in this world, which is run by Durga, which means fort or prison house, and you're restricted. Your natural freedom as a spirit soul is completely compromised by being encased within a material body. We're called Deha Britta. means though the conditioned soul is one that's bearing the burden of a material body. And one of the burdens is it completely covers our knowledge, because that working through the senses and the mind, it's saturated by lust of this karma, and through the senses, through the mind, through the intelligence, covers our original knowledge and binds us here. So we forget that we're completely dependent, that we're always serving, that we're serving our senses, serving our mind, serving everything else, and we try to be false masters here. So one of the basic instructions and lessons of the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna says, I know everything. Vedaham samatitani. He's vartamanani charjuna, bhavishani mam tu vedana kaschana. But me no one knows. But me no one knows completely. You can only know a little bit of Krishna that he allows you to know. So that understanding that Krishna is always watching, that he knows everything, and that he's in control. When we simply know the basics of Krishna philosophy and how Krishna expands in order to create this universe, and then he expands into Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Chiradaksha Vishnu. Chiradaksha Vishnu is the super soul in everyone's heart and in the atom. So there's no place where Krishna isn't. That's part of what it means to be a devotee, to cultivate that vision of seeing Krishna everywhere through his energies and personally in the deity and the holy name like that. Both have to be there. That you're never separated from Krishna. But you can embrace that vision and that understanding when you're trying to actually use Krishna's energy in its service. As long as you're trying to exploit his Krishna's energy, then you have to forget. And it's very logical. It's just like a thief. A thief, first of all, wants to make sure there's no police around. And someone's like a burglar. The burglar means he sneaks in and sneaks out of someone's house. It's a different category from someone who's a thief, who's ready to confront you and hurt you if you don't give him his wallet. The burglar is like a cat burglar. He wants to sneak in and sneak out and not be seen and not be known. So that mentality of not wanting to be seen in your criminal activities, because a good part of your understanding is that this is wrong, mixed up with the idea that there's the danger of being caught. So Krishna consciousness means establishing a Krishna conscience. One's conscience is meant to govern one's impulses, right? I mean, even the commies know that. Freud with the superego, how education and religion is meant to instill a conscience in someone so that you have there's a break on your natural propensity to act like an animal and just grab as much as you can and enjoy and dominate and rape and everything like that. So that conscience is Krishna's voice, is the voice of the super soul. And when Krishna and bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness philosophy and practice is meant to make that voice as strong as possible. So we're hearing it every moment. We're actually understanding what to do and what not to do at every moment by whether it's bona fide, whether it's in tune with the desires of Krishna as expressed through the Shastra and the spiritual master. And when cultivating that, deconditioning ourselves from material covering, the three modes of nature, and conditioning ourselves or practicing, habituating ourselves to measure our activities according to what we know is the right thing to do, what is our duty, and what is pleasing to Krishna. That's the whole thing. That's actually what, the real cultivation of Krishna consciousness. So this basic understanding, Veda Hamsa Matitani, that I know everything that happened, and everything that is happening, and everything that will happen. Clearly that's far beyond any reach of any soul, whether it's Lord Brahma or the little ant or ourselves. That omniscience is something only God can do. So when we embrace that, and we accept that, and we understand Krishna's omniscience, and then we see that that there's no hiding, there's no secrets that we can have from Krishna, and we can only really surrender to that when we are acting for Krishna's service and for His pleasure. Then it becomes that much more relishable that Krishna knows, You know, in other words, that means every little service that you do, Krishna is aware of it. It's not only a spectacular service that he knows, but he knows every little thing. Then it becomes an enlivening understanding when you're actually doing the right thing. Otherwise, when you're not, it becomes terrifying. You know, it becomes anxiety. By the way, I read a very interesting. I wanted to share this with you. I was struck by this. This is a news story. Where is it? Ah. A new study has determined that friending God can restore a purpose in life for lonely or antisocial people. Sounds very much like mine. Research at the University of Michigan has found that people who lack friends in social circles look for God as a way to satisfy those needs. Religious people have a stronger sense of belonging and purpose, even if they struggle to find footing in social settings. So I was just thinking how if you're actually Krishna conscious, then that biting, you know, of loneliness doesn't strike you. And you saw it so perfectly with, you know, Srila Prabhupada, where, you know, he came as a lone warrior, you know. And one time there's I think it was in the Lilamrita, where it said, Prabhupada, you must have been so lonely, you know, so alone there in 26th, before you know, established 26th Avenue. And Prabhupada said, no, I was never alone. You know, he never felt alone. He always have his companion, you know, Krishna with him. And that's such a boon. I mean, there's an epidemic of loneliness now, because the whole social structure has been atomized by the internet. You know, people they're in a room with 10 other people. They may be their friends, but they're actually relating through their phones. And it's so it's devastating. You can imagine that, you know, if you didn't have, of course, sadhu sangha is so important. But Krishna's always there. I mean, it's just a fact. If you're actually chanting nicely and hearing the holy name, you get the feeling of Krishna's presence in your life. And one of the things that you know is so amazing about Krishna, there's so many things, is that in spite of being so great, and we hear so much of that, you know, he creates all the universe, he expands everywhere, he's the master of Brahma, he's glorified by millions and millions, he has millions. So one may think, well, what kind of time is he going to have for me? I'm just a little schmo, you know. But actually, that's part of his greatness, that he has the ability to relate personally with unlimited living entities. It's clearly not an ordinary living entity. And so if you're actually Krishna conscious, you know, you can be out, like, you know, I mean, you're with so many strangers every day. You go distributing books. But right? When you distribute for hours and hours, you're basically alone, you know. I mean, I used to wander the streets of New York City before I knew anything about Krishna consciousness. And, you know, you just felt so alienated. Here's millions of people, you don't know any of them. You know, as you're in this crowd, and it's just like, it might as well be in the middle of a river going down. You know, you're not relating to them as human beings. And mostly you experience people as causing you discomfort in a big, you know, big crowds, like on the subway and things like that, you know. People become, let me try to get out in the country, get away from the people, right? So it's, but to be, you know, doing Krishna's service like you do, you know, book distributors, and feeling the need to call on Krishna for help, you know, and being dependent like that, then that loneliness, that feeling of alienation, it doesn't strike, because you see the oneness of all. You see everybody as you know, needing Krishna consciousness as the spirit soul, and you can overcome that. And that's a big thing to be able to do. That should be one of our preaching points. You know, we need a friend, a companion, come to the Hare Krishna temple. You know. And it's true that Krishna is, of course, the best friend of all, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, and those who are giving Krishna to others are their best friends, because they're introducing them to their actual eternal best friend. And so we should feel like that. And there's no better welfare work, there's no better thing you can do for anybody than to introduce them to Krishna, or help them be more Krishna conscious if they already know something about Krishna. You know. So that it comes. Everything in Krishna, all the philosophy is tied together. So this idea that Krishna knows everything. So the analogy of and it's not just in the Upanishads, it's right in the Bhagavatam. There's a verse about the two birds in the tree. The tree of the body, and you have the super soul who's always accompanying the individual bird, who's forgotten that bird. He's forgotten his eternal companion, and he's trying to enjoy those fruits of the tree. But he can only actually be happy when he turns to his friend, the super soul bird, and coordinates his activities with the super soul. So, but the fact that Krishna, as the super soul, accompanies us in every situation, these lower bodies, the plants, and what does he have to gain? Nothing. He just is there observing and pushing things along according to time, so that the living entity will eventually come back up to a human form of life. And not yesterday, but on Janmashtami, I had prepared a couple of other little slideshows. Actually, I didn't prepare them. I just discovered them. I had prepared them years ago. These are slideshows that I've used over the years, for Sunday feast or something like that. So one of the slideshows was about being in the ocean of birth and death, and it's kind of we're on a cruise ship. We travel along on this ocean of birth and death, as if we're on a cruise ship that is just made for our enjoyment, and the enjoyments on that cruise ship, whether it's the gambling or the prostitution or the fancy food or whatever it is, it's all meant to make us forget that we're actually on a dangerous situation on a ship, right? It's supposed to be idyllic. But actually, we're on in the ocean. We're in a very dangerous situation. And I show a picture of some cargo ship in a big storm. How dangerous it was. And when you read the Lilamrita, that first part of the trip was so difficult for Prabhupada. There were storms. It was the ship was always moving and caused him great, seasickness, and then he had those heart attacks. So that was a direct experience of what it's like being in the ocean of birth and death. Of course, Prabhupada was at the same time fully Krishna conscious. So then the slideshow goes on, and that we should realize that the only hope is to get on a safe ship, and Prabhupada compared it to the boat of ISKCON. There's even a painting, have you ever seen, of the boat of ISKCON, to go across the ocean of birth and death. And there's Prabhupada at the front as the captain. I think it was painted, during his time. So, and then I say, actually, this human form is compared to a boat, by Krishna. Nirdeham adyam sulabham sudurlabham plabham sukalpam gurukarnadaram. That the human body, nirdeham, is adyam. Adyam doesn't mean original, it's ad with an H. It means very full of facility. It can mean opulent, the great facility for crossing over. And it's sulabham sudurlabham. It's very easy to get. It automatically attained just by living and moving up the species. Darwin's mistake was thinking that the forms are actually evolving, when it's the consciousness that's evolving. And the fact that there may be species that go extinct simply means that they're visible on this planet for some time, and then whatever conditions there are make it untenable. And so, but the species are there in some other planet. You have to expand. There are millions, countless planets. And the species that were once here may not be manifest here now at this time, but they're manifest elsewhere. And the living entity is moving through these species, either on this planet or some other planet, gradually uncovering his consciousness until you come to the human form. And that human form is the chance to break out of this birth and death cycle entirely. So that's what he's saying, sulabham. But the same, it's sudurlabham. These words are opposites. Sulabham and sudurlabham, means two opposite things. You see? Hare Krishna, please have a seat. So sulabham sudurlabham is very rare. There's only about 7.5 billion of us. You can imagine how many insects there are. You know, these are all living entities too. So we're relatively extremely rare human life, and among human beings, there's only a very small portion who are really ready to entertain these questions, who are ready to inquire into what's this, who am I, why am I suffering, what's the source of everything, what's the solution to all these miseries that I'm, you know, who's really. There are people that very much want to know the solution to the misery, but only on the material plane, right? How can we reverse aging? Now they're saying, oh, now we're almost ready to, stay young forever. So called. But not how you can really regain your understanding and your life as an eternal spirit soul. You want to become eternal in this body, which is insane. You know? So that human form of life, Krishna says, is this very rare form. It's just like a boat to cross over the ocean of birth and death. And you need a good captain, right? And the captain is the guru, is the realized soul, who's already crossed over, but is maintaining his life on this side so he can guide. So Guru Karnadaram. Karnadaram, I don't know why that word means a captain. It has something to do with the ear. But there it is. Karnadaram means captain. And you need favorable winds. It's one of these sailboats. You know, visualize the Yankee Clipper or something. And Krishna says, my instructions in the Vedas are the favorable winds. Maya anukulyena nabhasviteditam. So we have all of the facilities. We have the human body. We have the guru. We have the teachers, the exemplars, the acharyas. We have Krishna's own instructions, which are coming through the acharyas and coming through his books like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And if with all of that, puman bhavabdim nataret sa atmaha. If a certain atma, a little living entity, does not, human being does not cross over the ocean of birth and death, then he's committing spiritual suicide. Atmaha. Now atmaha means the killer of the self. Well, we know you can't really kill yourself, right? Self is eternal. But you can postpone for countless, millennia, this chance again to come. And it's not just the human form. Human form and get the association of devotees so that you can, go in this direction. Otherwise, there's billions of people who, couldn't care less. They have no inkling of what life is all about. It's all just a rat race. It's all just trying to survive mostly, and a very few, exploiting and becoming millionaires and even billionaires, but still, then what happens when you die? All that money is left behind. So this, it all comes from this Vedaham Samatitani, that Krishna knows everything in past and present and future. He knows what's best for us. What's best for us is to take up Krishna consciousness, and he makes all efforts to make sure that the chance is there. Sometimes it becomes eclipsed, and it's very difficult. Just like even Lord Chaitanya came and taught Bhakti Yoga and gave us this very easy process of chanting. And yet, after he left, the movement was eclipsed by these false followers of Lord Chaitanya, Upasampradayas, for, I don't know, a couple hundred years. More than a couple hundred. Really, until Bhaktivinoda Thakur came. We came in the middle of the 18th century, and Lord Chaitanya departed in the middle of the 16th century. So, it's about 200 years. We had our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakrabarti was there, and Narottam Das and the followers, but it wasn't a mass movement. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, manifested his interest in exploring Vaishnavism, he couldn't find a Chaitanya Charitamrita in India. It was maybe 1 or 2 manuscripts here or there. He couldn't find it. It wasn't published. It was out of print. You can imagine, right there in India. So we're in a golden age. This is the age of Kali. It's a very difficult age, but at the same time, it's the golden age for accessibility to the Shastra. You can get online and you can find anything there. You certainly find Prabhupada's books. Vedabase.com. Anyone can read them, download them, anything. So it's, but to have the interest and the focus and the faith, that faith is hard to get. Having the faith so that you pursue it and increase that faith and understanding, that's not so easy. So that's what this movement is all about. Okay, we've come to the witching hour, 8:31. Does anyone have any questions or comments on these views? Dravida Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dravida Prabhu, you were speaking about how...
Even with the mic you'll need to speak up for me.
You were speaking about how Krishna is the Chorodakashayi Vishnu. He expands, all pervading. Super soul within everything. And that he's omniscient, he knows everything, past, present, and future. And but he takes note of everything. Therefore, even the little things, not just the noteworthy services. So how can we know, my question is, how can we know on a practical, relevant level how Krishna is satisfied?
Oh, that's easy. You can know Krishna is satisfied if you're becoming less attracted to the material side and more attracted to Krishna. If you're feeling on any given day or any given part of the day enlivened by chanting, by reading, by serving, by speaking about Krishna, you know that's coming directly from Krishna. That's the reciprocation that he gives for his devotional service. He gives a chance for more service, but he gives you the chance for you relishing the service more. That's the and simultaneously a detachment from material things that used to bother you, distractions and desires that you couldn't give up, bother you less. That's a sign of advancement. Especially, Prabhupada said, as a matter of evidence, where anyone can see. Because not everyone can see that you're relishing Krishna consciousness more. I mean, there are certain things that your tears are flowing, obviously. But more to the point is that anyone can see that this person is not attractive. So many opportunities. Like in Prabhupada's life, he started out with penniless, literally. And then after a few years, he really had millions of dollars at his disposal. And not only that, he had thousands of devotees, men and women, young men and women, who would do anything for him. That's an opulence. And yet he never just kicked back. And the perfect example is the Detroit Temple. Detroit Temple was bought 75, 76, something like that. And Bhadranarayana Maharaj could tell you the whole story. He was there. And it had been, I forget who it was. But it belonged to a big executive of Ford, and it was very, very opulent. What had happened is that the place where it was had become a slum. So it was for sale. So in that regard, but the compound itself was very opulent, and the house and so forth, So it was worth at least $300,000, which at that time was maybe 3 or 4 what it is today. And would have been, probably could have retired there and just lived there and very comfortably. He could have just stayed in Hawaii all the time. He had a nice place there, But after getting this, negotiating with the people and getting a much better price, and he just flew off. He kept flying and going off because he had commitments to preach in New York and Nairobi and here and there, The point is that for a man that age, approaching 80 with not such good health, traveling is a big, big austerity. Big, big austerity. You want to basically sit back, as his godbrothers did, as Prabhupada could have done, starting in the 60s. I mean, when he was in the 60s. He has a place in Vrindavan, he has a Radha Damodar, he could have just stayed there right by the Yamuna and just chant. But he didn't do that. And that showed his detachment for any material thing, which was obvious in many other ways. And his attachment to following the order of a spiritual master and pleasing Krishna like that. So Prabhupada is a perfect example. And on a smaller level, we can feel it in ourselves. If devotees are really chanting their rounds, just following the regular program, what to speak of, making sacrifices to preach and serve, which is how you really make quick advancement. but still the basic program, which is also austere, then you'll see there's a nature about them. They're obviously not, involved in the big anxieties and troubles of ordinary life. And of course, everything is in a spectrum, you see, to a degree. But devotees who are serious about Krishna consciousness, they're not experiencing the world or themselves in the same way. And that's, you can feel it yourself. Prabhupada says, I listen to his tapes every day. You just come and stay with us for 1 week and you'll feel you're making advancement. If you actually strictly follow, you'll actually feel it. In those days it meant living in the temple, getting up early, doing all the things. So that's how you can tell your attraction to Krishna and everything about Krishna, the holy name especially, and detachment from Maya. No one has to tell you. Just like there's a verse, 11th canto, Krishna's, the 9 Yogendras are speaking. Bhakti padeshano bhavo virakti anyat chaisha tika eka kala. Pabudyamanas yatasha tuksu tushti pushti chodapaya onugasam. It compares experiencing Krishna consciousness to taking a nice feast of prasadam. So he says 3 things happen. For someone who's surrendered to Krishna and is actually following that, 3 things happen almost simultaneously. Bhakti, pada ishanu bhava, and virakti anyatra cha. So bhakti here means the pleasure of rasa. It means pure bhakti. So and pada isha anubhava, the direct experience of Krishna, seeing him, feeling his guidance, pada isha anubhava, and virakta anyatra cha, detachment from everything that's not Krishna. Chika eka kala, practically simultaneously. It's not one happens and another happens. These things all happen together at the same time. Papunyamanas, for the surrendered devotee. Just as yata ashnataksu, when someone is taking a feast or eating, ashna means to eat. Tushti, pushti, and chodapayo, anugasam. With every bite, with every mantra, with every bite, with every moment of bhakti, you feel tushti. Tushti means spiritual happiness, satisfaction. This word comes up in the Bhagavad Gita. Matchitta magata prana bodhayantak parasparam katayantastamam nityam tushyanti chadamanti cha. That's the verb for tushti. So it means that you feel spiritual pleasure, which obliterates desire for material pleasure. And pushti, nourished. The experience of Krishna in your life is nourishment for the soul. And that's why you read about the Goswamis, Rupa, Raghunath, and Raghunadas and Sanatan, eating practically nothing. The material hunger is overwhelmed by the spiritual nourishment. So tushti, pushti, and chodapaya onugasam. With every bite, you're feeling detachment from the hunger. You're feeling satisfied. So that means detachment from Maya. You see, you're being nourished and you're feeling happiness like that. So that's something devotees can experience to a lesser or greater degree as they go forward. All right, we got to end. It's time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.